All right, we have made it through 2 units now, and we are on our way to our third, which is the Tech to Pop translation proposal. I noticed in some of your About Me's that a couple of people mentioned how they were interested in conveying information from their field to a lay public. And this particular unit is wonderful for that because that is exactly what we're going to think about doing. So let's start talking about what the assignment requires. So, first of all, it's a proposal, as I said, and we're going to work from the assumption that I am about to read to you, that's on the screen right now, and that is also included in your assignment sheet, which I want everyone to be sure to take a look at and save so you can come back to it and read it, so you make sure that you're meeting all the requirements as you go. So, for this unit, your boss wants your group to draw new talent, investors, young minds, and generally engage the public with the work of your field through a popular presentation of your research. She has decided that she wants to reach a younger audience by creating a popular translation addressing a gap in general knowledge, a misconception, or some other problem in your field. Before you create the popular translation, which might be a podcast, a social media page, a comic strip, etc., she would like you to analyze one other type of translation that has tackled a similar topic. So why we're framing it this way is before you create your own popular translation, you need to go out and look for one that tackles a similar topic in your field. Now, it may not be exactly the same topic, but it should be something along the same lines so you can see how someone else has tackled a similar issue in the field. What you're going to be doing is looking at the rhetorical moves of the popular translation that you choose to analyze. So whether it be a radio lab, a TED Talk, a RSA Animate, tweet, social media, museum exhibits. You can look at any kind of popular translation that you want, but you need to be specific in your analysis. So include quotes. If it is something that has text or any text at all, most of it will. Obviously, a museum exhibit might not. You'll still find text within that though, right? So include quotes, screen captures, and pictures. And it needs to be substantially different from whatever you're going to propose. So you can't take a TED Talk and then do something that's very similar to it. Like, you need to move genres in a way that makes your message come across more effectively to whoever the users or audience is. So you're going to start by describing the concept you're addressing in an easy to understand way, and end by proposing some kind of popular production based on your research. Within the proposal, you will include a justification and explanation as to how and why your proposed translation will be effective in achieving your goal. In writing your proposal report, you will need to write 2 to 3 single-space pages, and this doesn't include images. Provide an introduction that both describes what you are doing and why you are doing it. So you're going to lay out the problem that you're addressing in your field. It might be a misconception, a lack of people researching something, any kind of problem in your field, and then why you have chosen it. So, or why is it a problem? Why do you believe that this thing needs to be tackled? You need to include an analysis of another type of popular translation you reviewed, which we just talked about. You need to include quotes and or provide images of your source. The quotes will need to follow 2009 MLA format, and the images need to be formatted according to our common error worksheet, which I will provide. You need to end with an explanation as to why your popular translation will be effective. So compare it and contrast it to your example. There should be an audience analysis within the explanation too. Now you'll notice I have comic strip there. Please ignore that. That's from an old assignment. So yours can be anything. I had it narrowed to that, then I open it up. So it just needs to be an explanation to why whatever popular translation you chose is going to be effective, and more effective than the one that you analyzed. For an extra 10 points, you can actually create your proposed translation that addresses the issue that you've chosen. So if you proposed a podcast, you can create a mock podcast. If you proposed a comic strip, you can create a mock comic strip. You can create these productions in any way that, will kind of create a protocol. So it needs to be in some kind of form that would give me an idea of what the popular translation would look like. But it can be in rough form. Just be sure that you feel comfortable with whatever programs or equipment you might need to use. If you choose to do a comic strip, you can hand draw the comic strip, take pictures of it, and send it to me. It doesn't have to, if you have software that you can use, that's fantastic, but you're welcome to draw it by hand. With podcast, whatever way you can create that recording, and get it to me as a mock podcast, that's fine. Just be sure that it's in some kind of common file that I'll be able to open, so that I don't have to have any, specific software to open it. That's the only guidelines if you do decide to do one of these. Now, this can be really fun. It doesn't have to be fantastic. It's a rough draft of it just to get you thinking about how to create these popular translations. So I really welcome you to do that for those 10 extra points. So some example problems are a lack of women in the field of engineering, a misunderstanding about the dangers of fracking, a lack of knowledge of what to do in a tornado, a lack of interest or knowledge of young people in your major. So these are all examples. You don't need to choose one of these. It doesn't have to look like one of these, but I did want to provide some examples as to what kind of problems can be addressed in this. Now remember, you're going to take on the problem and then propose a popular translation that is some kind of solution to this problem in the field that will address this problem in the field. So note that the best problems for this experiment will be those in which the scientist fails to consider and serve a specific population of users. So we'll say if there's a misunderstanding about the dangers of fracking or a fear of the wrong parts of fracking, that would be that the professionals in the field are speaking. Whenever they put knowledge out there, they are speaking to people in their field that already know, and they're failing to effectively communicate to lay people about the dangers of fracking, or the wrong parts of fracking, the fear of the wrong parts of fracking. So they're not effectively communicating all the aspects of fracking and what parts are dangerous and what parts aren't. The knowledge of what to do in a tornado. So this means that there is a warning system out there and it's reaching some population, but it's failing to reach the population that it needs to most. And you have to think about why is that and what kind of popular translation might remedy that problem. So let's look at the different sections. So you're going to start with an introduction. So what is your problem and to whom are you writing? So this is how you need to set up your entire proposal. So you need to demonstrate exigence. So you should introduce the purpose or objective of your report. Why are you writing it? What problem is your popular translation analysis and proposal attempting to solve? So tell me, what's the problem? Why is it a problem? Ground me as your audience, situate me in whatever you're writing about. Let me know what problem we're coming into and why it's a problem. Then you should have an audience analysis within it. So you should introduce the specific audience that you're attempting to create your popular translation for. So is it 5th grade science students? Are they homeowners in floodplains? What audience are you crafting your popular translation or the proposal for? So ideally, this audience analysis will take on the form of a user persona, which you did for our last unit, and I'll talk about real briefly this time since you've already done it. You're not going to do one of those formal user personas for this unit, but you will kind of use the information, kind of create one without all those aspects and turn it in, but you do want to kind of gather the same information as you did for the last unit. So you can think about and write about the users or the audience that you have in mind. And the introduction should briefly introduce the source that you've chosen. So not the one that you're proposing, but the flawed choice or translation that you've chosen. You're not going to analyze it yet. You're just going to tell what the popular translation is. So if you found a TED Talk that's about something, you'll introduce it that it's this TED Talk that addresses this. You'll go on to analyze it after the introduction, however. So next comes the analysis. So what is your example? What is it doing and why is it doing it? So in the analysis section, you need to include some reasoning behind why you've chosen your source. You choose this example, or why did you choose it and not another one? And how is it suitable for the audience and problem? So you're basically just telling me, why is it this source? How is it kind of tackling the issue that you're interested in? Why was this source the one that you decided upon? And then you need to describe the rhetorical moves that the source is making with specific examples. So what is the popular translation? Is it a comic strip? Is it a podcast? Is it a museum exhibit? Is it a community engagement activity? What is it? What does it do? How does it do it? And why does it do it? How will it specifically serve your audience? So basically describe why this source was designed this way. So you're going to be telling me, what things you want to think about as you're doing this. So if it is a podcast, why is it a podcast? Why isn't that format? Why was it done that way instead of being a comic? Think about the decisions that the creator made in relation to the audience and the issue. So you're going to be telling me about all this. Tell me what it is, why it was done this way, why did the creator decide to do it that way and not another way, and then also tell me the pros and cons. So at the end of the day, you're going to propose something that more effectively kind of addresses this, but this one is also going to have pros and cons. What you can do with that is you're going to see like how the pros are working and incorporate that into how you propose a different popular translation, and then the cons of it, make sure that you don't fall into the same traps that they did. So the proposal needs to summarize the takeaways from your analysis section, from your pros and cons. What have you learned to avoid? What have you learned that works well? You need to apply what you've learned to the analysis section to solve the problem from your introduction. So you introduce the problem that people aren't, they're like, this thing, information's not getting to this audience in an effective way. You need to use the information in your analysis section to solve that problem. And then you need to generate a specific proposal for your popular translation that applies the techniques you've learned from the analysis section. So you say, you've decided to do a comic strip and lay out the reasons that this is going to be effective and it's going to get the information out to the public in an effective way. And then you need to calculate the feasibility of your final proposal. So why is this the best option according to feasibility measures like time, capital, manpower, etc. So why this thing and nothing else? Why is this the best option? You're basically just saying why that what you've proposed is the best option. So there's a Radio Lab episode called The Bitter End that we can look at as an example. So the problem that this episode tackles is that people are uninformed about the choices that can be made during end-of-life care, and that doctors are too often present aggressive treatment as the only choice. The solution that this particular popular translation posits is to provide a resource in which doctors discuss their own end-of-life decision-making processes. So when we look at that and then look at rhetorical moves, so how does the product need to be designed to help patients? Needs to consider ethos, pathos, and logos. So what kind of authority does the doctor have compared to the patients that the doctor's talking to? Pathos, what kind of emotional ties or bonds are being created, are being neglected in certain decision making and the presentation of certain knowledge or options. And then the logos, what kind of facts are given. All these have to come into play whenever we present any kind of audience with any kind of form of communication. In this, surprise is one rhetorical move. Humanizing medicine is a rhetorical move that's made within this. So as the doctors talk about their own decision, medicine becomes humanized to highlight choice. And to provide comfort. So you're welcome to look up that episode so you can kind of hear it, and that will make more sense of this. I just wanted to do a quick rundown, though, of the way that you can look at rhetorical moves made in a specific popular translation. All right, so your homework is to choose your problem and to start looking for some sort of popular translation that is addressing it. Now, this is a quick unit. It's only 1 week, so we have to hit the ground running with this one. If you have any questions at all, please let me know.